Guys, it's Hannah Brady here with the College Fix. Today we get to talk to Sam Fulnecky, who is a junior at the University of Oklahoma, and my friend who received a 0 out of 25 on her paper where she talked about gender. Her professor said that her writing was offensive and she's actually received some hate for it since. We get to talk to her now. So, I know you and we're friends from working at camp a few summers ago, but when I saw you on the news everywhere, it was crazy. So I can't even imagine what that's like for you. So just tell us, what's that been like, just to be on every news outlet everywhere?
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's been kind of silly to see myself on my own phone, like when I open social media and things and on TV, and for my family members to be sending me pictures of myself on TV is like it doesn't even feel real.
Yeah.
So it's been crazy. It's been a lot different than what I'm used to.
Right, I'm sure. That is crazy. And just to start off, have you ever received a 0 out of 25 on any paper you've written before?
No, never.
So I'm sure that was pretty shocking when you got this one.
Yes, definitely. Definitely shocking.
Okay, so tell us. So you had to read an article and then write a paper on that article. So what was the article about, and what was it that you read that made you, want to write the paper that you did?
Yeah, the article was about gender stereotypes, specifically in children, and mental health surrounding those gender stereotypes. And one thing it talked about specifically was it was trying to argue that it would be better to erase gender binary and get rid of it completely. And it was saying that that would be healthier for children because then they wouldn't feel the need to fit into those stereotypes.
At any point, did you think to write something that your professor would agree with, or, what motivated you to write the way that you did?
Yeah, what motivated me was definitely just my beliefs. I didn't know when I was writing the paper that the teaching assistant grading it was transgender. It's an online class, and so I've never had any interaction with the teaching assistant. And so I had no idea how he would react to what I was writing. I just saw the assignment and read the article, and my first instinct was, oh yeah, I know exactly what I'm going to write about. The Bible is very clear with this topic, and so I knew exactly what I was going to say, and I didn't really think much of it.
Were you surprised when you got your grade on this paper?
Yes, I was very surprised. I've gotten 100% on all of these papers and all of the writing assignments in this class, so I was shocked, and I was even more shocked when I saw the comments from the teaching assistant.
What about your writing do you think could have been considered offensive?
Yeah, that was definitely the main point that the TA made was that my writing was offensive and that I needed more empathy in my work, which was confusing to me because I didn't understand how, when I was asked to give my opinion, how that could be considered offensive for my grade. And so I was definitely confused. But I think maybe the main point that the instructor took offense to was the sentence where I said, society pushing a lie that there should be multiple genders and everyone can be whatever they want to be is demonic. And so I've seen a lot of reactions to that piece of it. And a lot of people are assuming that I meant that transgender people are demonic. But that's not what I meant. It's not that those people themselves are demonic. It's that the enemy is trying to push this lie that they are, and that is from the enemy.
If you were going to clarify that comment, writing demonic in your paper and them reacting like that the way that your professor did, how would you clarify that? What do you think you're referring to when you're talking about that word?
Yeah, I'd say that the Bible is very clear that we can't worship God and, also be a part of the world. And if we're doing something that isn't glorifying to God, the only other option is that it's glorifying to the enemy. And so that's kind of the truth that I live my life based off of. And so, one of the main ways that the enemy tries to attack people, especially recently in society, is our identities. And I've dealt with this in my personal life, feeling whether it be I don't know, maybe inferior or not loved or unknown and things like that. those are all things that God says. He says that we're loved and that we're known, and he sees us and that we're fearfully and wonderfully made in those things. And so, a main point of attack that the enemy tries to use to throw us off sometimes can be attacking our identity. And so I think, that's the same for transgender and everything that kind of goes along with that is people are believing the lie that Satan's feeding them, that they weren't made how God intended them to be made, and that they weren't made in the image of God, and that they weren't made fearfully and wonderfully made on purpose.
Yeah, so shifting gears a little bit, talking about the response at your school. So what's that looked like, walking around campus after being everywhere? How have people reacted?
Yeah, I've gotten some mixed reactions. I have been a little bit nervous to go on campus, and when I have been on campus, I have felt a lot of eyes looking at me. A lot, I feel like, in disapproval. But then I just went to take a test just now, and I had a lady come up to me that works for the university, and she was so encouraging, and so. Um, Saying that she was proud of me and things like that. And so those interactions that I've had on campus have made a huge impact on me and have really helped me stand firm in my faith.
Reactions aren't just in person, they're also online. And I was even looking and I saw some pretty crazy comments on the post that your Turning Point chapter posted in response to your writing saying, you deserved the 0 out of 25, or just criticizing the content and the style of your writing. So, how would you respond to that?
Yeah, I think most college students would be in agreement that if you turn in the assignment, either way, you don't get a 0 as long as you turn it in. So I think it would be one thing for people to argue that if I had gotten some points out of 25, but because it was a 0, I feel like I don't really know how people could argue that that's deserved. I know that I'm not an English major and I don't usually have to write essays or writing assignments. I'm in pretty much all science or math classes, so I'm not, a super great writer, and I know that. So I usually just laugh those comments off, talking about my writing and bad grammar and things like that.
So it sounds like, you wrote every single one of your papers the same. You've got 100 on every one up until this point, and this is the only one that's different. So why do you think you got this grade on this paper?
Well, I think it was because the instructor was offended by the truth, and me describing that as the truth isn't me trying to be, say that everything that I say is right and that the instructor is wrong, but the Bible says that Jesus Christ is the truth, and this is the one religion that is the real truth, and there can only be one truth. So, I think the instructor was very clearly offended by my beliefs and by what I said, and I think it really touched a nerve because the instructor is transgender, and I didn't know that. Again, I didn't know that the instructor was transgender, so I didn't know that he was going to have that reaction to it. And so, I think he was just offended and maybe hurt by my opinions and my beliefs and what I said in that.
Speaking of your professor, I just saw that your professor is actually on leave. Are you happy about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you can't do your job correctly in any setting, then you would get fired, no matter what job it is. So I think the right thing to do is to fire the instructor if he's not able to separate his own personal feelings from grading assignments and doing his job. And so I never, of course, I never meant to offend him or. I definitely also don't agree with the things being said online about him that are really hurtful things. I don't agree with that kind of backlash towards him either. But I do think that it's justified that they put the instructor on administrative leave.
One last question, Sam. What would be your message to other college students? Maybe they're going through something similar. What would you tell them?
I would tell them that it can be scary, of course, to be bold in your faith and to stand up for what you believe in, but it's so important. And it's so important to not just, label ourselves as Christians and go to church on Sunday, and then that's it. That's as far as we go, and we don't do anything in our personal lives. That's not how, people come to know Jesus. That's not how we spread the gospel. And so I think just it's so important to live on mission in our everyday lives, no matter where we are. And I just want to encourage students to be bold in their faith, be bold in their beliefs. Don't back down when, people on the internet or people at university try to make you feel small and make you feel like you're wrong. Because ultimately we're, only living to glorify God, and I'm only doing this to glorify God. So, yeah, that would just be my prayer, and that, I hope people are encouraged by all of this, and I hope that while they're being bold in their faith, that, they're able to do it in a loving and kind way.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let us know what you think about Sam's story in the comments below. I'm Hannah Brady from the College Fix. We'll see you next time.